Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Megan.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Woo woo.
Yep. How's
Are you
business going?
feeling good? How are you? Are you feeling better? You keep us updated on your daughter, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, I am. I got they did an MRI on my back and I have a bulging disc and
Oh, geez.
yeah, and some inflammation. I mean, he can't say for sure was the bulging disc from the wreck, but he said the inflammation indicates it had something to do with it, but it could have partially
Sure.
been there already. Um, so I'm seeing the chiropractor. So it's getting better though. And they put me on like anti-inflammatories and stuff like that. So it's definitely better than it was. I mean, it's still not like if I'm walking around a lot or like if it's the end of the day, I can feel it still, but it's not like all day
Yeah.
like it was. So definitely better.
Eh, Good. Good. Chiropractors are like one of those miracle workers that are understated, right?
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to tell you, the one that we're seeing is great. He has been like so awesome through the whole thing.
That's fantastic because
It
getting a
is.
good one is hard.
Right. Yeah. Cause I've been the one before and I mean, it's been years and I just didn't care for him that much. But this one, I mean, just super nice. You could talk to him. Like he hasn't even really seen Kaylee at all, but he went to school for sports medicine initially and then went back for
Nice.
chiropractic to be a chiropractor. So I've been able to like talk to him about everything that's going on with her and he's given me advice and talked about it and like he's not treating her or charging me for it. So it's
Oh,
been
that's
super helpful
great.
though.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Well, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're
Thank
mending.
you. Thank you. We have court on April the 4th for
Oh,
the
good.
DWI. So we'll see how
Good.
hopefully she gets charged or something. I don't know what's gonna happen with all that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
But
don't understand people at
me
all.
neither. Mothers Against Drunk Driving is coming though as an advocate. So that should be they're gonna push for
Oh,
something, I'm
awesome.
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you have in-room support.
Yes, I didn't even think about it. And my mom was like, "Hey, did you reach out to Mothers Against Drunk Driving?" And I was like, "No, I mean, I never really thought about it." And since I've reached out, the lady's calling me like all the time, checking, and she's like, "Okay,
Good.
let me know when court is. We're gonna be there." So we found out yesterday when court was, so she's coming. So I'm like, okay, that makes me feel better because I didn't even really, when she said something about court, I was like, "What do you mean court?" But then I also found out from them, like, if you don't go as a witness, even though like she hit us, because there's no witness, they could just drop the charges altogether on it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
But
they
the
said that
upside,
happens all the time with DWIs.
unfortunately, that's correct. But the upside of that is you'll have support in the courtroom, and
Exactly.
so they will, they might the whole bully thing, right? To try to
Right.
downplay you.
Yeah.
I see it as kind of bullying, but
Yeah. No, I agree completely. The prosecutor reached out and wanted like medical records that had diagnoses and stuff on it because I mean, of course, when it happened, we were like, "Oh yeah, we're okay." I mean, we were kind of in
oh yeah,
shock,
no, you're not.
Right. And we just didn't know. So then now that we've been to the doctors and tests and stuff's been done, they wanted like all of that to be able to prove like, hey, um,
Good,
yeah. So
good.
we'll see how it all goes. Hopefully.
You were very, very fortunate.
Yes,
Holy cow.
we were very I say I say that all the time. Like, and my daughter kept saying all she heard me say the whole time when we saw the car coming was, "Oh my God, oh my God." I'm like, okay, well, God protected us 100%
True.
because
Well,
that whole
that,
situation could have been
yep.
worse.
Oh yeah, that and the vehicle you were in, right?
Yep. I know. I
Made a
said that.
huge impact.
Oh yeah. I'm like, I will never like I'm gonna stick in a Tahoe or a bigger vehicle forever now. I
Yeah,
can tell you because I saw the damage that that did to that, and we walked away with very little injuries considering. So
right.
so yeah,
Well,
it's
I'm
crazy.
glad you're doing better.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for asking.
I needed to check in, so now I'm gonna hush.
No, I appreciate it. I really do. How's everybody else doing this morning?
Busy.
Busy, that's good. Work busy or just life in general busy?
Both.
Both. I feel you.
Um,
Good
my,
morning, Gwen.
my husband had, good morning. My husband had a heart valve replacement.
Oh yeah, how's he
Then
doing?
on the
He's doing
8th.
better.
Well, in that regard, yeah, but sometimes there's post-operative headaches, but his are really bad, and he's had some blurred vision. So we're going for a CAT scan on his head on the 29th. So yeah, it's never ending
Yeah.
right now. For a couple of days, he was like a different man. After the surgery, he was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, good, good color in his complexion, fleshy, where had been looking pretty drawn and had
Yeah.
looked aged beforehand, and then the headache started, and yeah, it's just, and plus he's not one to just sit around, and he works a ranch, and I'm constantly,
Yeah.
he's out hauling bulls right now. They hired a guy to work part-time to fill in for him while he's down. And he came in and he says, we're going to haul bulls over to the other ranch. And I just looked at him. He said, all I'm doing is driving. He said, well, he said, I'm not doing anything else. The other guy was even hooking up the trailer, and
Yeah.
so it's hard on him. And he keeps telling everybody, I have a tight noose on his neck. I won't let him go very
You got
far.
to though. You got
But,
to.
Well, he's worked hard all his life, and that's all he knows. And it's really hard for him to sit by and be idle. But his best friend, who's about 6 years older than him, calls him every morning at 7 o'clock and wants a rundown. What are you doing today? And he's an old cowboy as well. And Randy told him the other morning, well, I'm going to go and check heifers. Well, what are you going to do if a calf needs to be pulled? There's not anything he can do except make a phone call.
Right. Oh, well, at least he was doing something. I'm sure that just that made him feel better though, to be able to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hopefully
it's
everything
been hard, but
I bet. Yeah. Hopefully everything goes well
I
and
will
he starts completely recovering.
I will say this much. I am so grateful that I started this business, because had I still been working full time, I would have gotten fired. There's no way they would have let me off for this much time to be at home with him and take care of him. And so I'm very grateful for that. And so,
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that makes all the difference in the world for sure.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
I don't know how many times I've heard that exact comment though. Like if I was listening to someone yesterday and they're like, with as often as my kids were sick and I'm taking them to the doctor's office, it's like, I would be fired. Like that's such a reality.
Yep. Oh, me too. There's been quite a few times where that would have been a situation with the wreck. Right after the wreck, my dad was in the hospital getting a pacemaker put in because he had heart issues. So, I mean, like that was a couple of weeks too. So yeah, totally feel that.
Yeah. Well, and there have been times where it's happened twice now. The doctors have called in the morning and said, can you be here at noon? And we have an hour-and-a-half drive just to get to the closest doctor. And, the surgery was down in Houston, which we're 3 hours away from Houston. So it's not like, just run down the street and around the corner to go get things done.
Right.
And, I'm sure I've upset the BNI a couple of times because I've just in the morning said, hey, I'm not going to be able to be there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't go without me.
Yep.
They're virtual meetings. So anyway.
But still, yeah, you still got to carve out that specific time.
Right, right.
I don't know if he's looking at me, Sherry, but
When you were talking about a storm, he just said hi and waved at you. So maybe I should mute myself. 'Cause he's like, sorry. Kyle's on the co-working call right now, so we're dividing and conquering.
yeah, I totally forgot they were at the same time. And so you said that yesterday. I was like, oh,
So they're live, but so yeah, I was just about to comment that it feels lighter because now they're not showing up to this one, they're in the
yeah, they're over there.
voted to change it, but all is good.
So what has everybody been up to? I've been kind of MIA for the last month. I mean, Megan, besides your wreck, I knew about that, but
Yeah,
um,
busy. So the co-working call did switch to this time in the other group, by the way. So I don't know if you saw that or not, Gwen.
I knew that there had been some changes and did something get changed to 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
It was, no, it was 3 o'clock and we switched it to this time because 10 seemed to work better for most of the people in the group or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and you should have access to our new course that we launched. That
I
happened
did see
too.
the notice on that the other day, and I pulled up my portal and got in there and got to looking around, and I was like, oh, okay, that's great. But yeah,
Yep.
I haven't done much more with it.
Yeah, you've been busy. But yeah, that's what we've been up to.
Cool.
I have exciting news.
Yeah, what's that?
So my oldest granddaughter is graduating high school June 4th. And I just got a phone call last night that my 7th grandchild is in the oven.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
One graduates and you get a new baby.
Oh, wow. What a difference.
No doubt. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because, the whole numbers thing. Both of my daughters will be having their 3rd child when they're 36, which is the same age I was when I had my son. So
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Oh, one of the things that we've been having to not fight with, really, he's really more on board with it than I expected. But he's supposed to be on a cardiac diet. And you're looking at a, real meat and potatoes type guy. And now he's having to eat a lot of fish and lentils. He's like, what in the hell's a lentil? I don't even know if I'm saying
funny.
it right.
Yeah.
But
My dad's the same way. He is so hard-headed. He will not. Oh,
I fixed couscous the other day for the first time, and he said, "Don't ever do that again." And like, okay. And then I didn't tell him what it was, but I fixed quinoa, and I just said, "How did you like that rice pilaf I made?" That was really good. But if I had told him it was what it really was, he would have turned his nose up at it. So
yeah, so that's the secret. Don't tell him, just do it.
If my husband roast quinoa, like I don't know, whatever. It's like too toasted, and I'm like, please don't feed this to me. But outside of that, quinoa is like you can hide it, a lot of things, and then it's fine. But I don't like toasted quinoa. I'll pass.
Well, we hadn't been home but a couple of days, and it was cold and windy, and I made essentially it was just a vegetarian chili, but I told him it was a black bean chili, had 0 meat in it. Okay. And I mean, we have a freezer full of venison. We have a freezer full of beef. I have a brand new package of bacon in the refrigerator, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to give some of it away because it's stuff that he shouldn't eat. He can have beef to a certain degree, but it has to be a very lean cut. And so yeah. And it's a little bit different for me cooking, you know,
Yeah.
a little
My
bit.
other half kind of went
I,
for
I
vegetarian.
always
It's like my other
do
half was
what?
vegetarian for a couple of years, and it took some to getting used to, but now we kind of like we eat meat now, but we don't eat pork, but we eat meat sparingly. But you know,
Mhm.
like I make, you can find like in the freezer section at Kroger, like the black bean burgers, you know, and those satisfy your, like, for
Mhm.
me anyway, like your hamburger, you know what I mean? I can do black bean burgers and
Yeah.
in the air fryer, put like sweet potato fries or something like that for a quick meal. But
Yeah.
let's see, you know, and
Well,
just do the chicken.
my neighbor is a pescatarian,
Mhm.
and so I mean the rest of her family eats meat and chicken, but she doesn't. And but she serves them a lot of vegetable type dishes and
Yeah.
beans and so forth. So I've hit her up for some recipes, and then I just got in the other day the 28-day Mediterranean diet, and I've gotten a lot of good ideas. I myself am going to start the diet on April 1st because I've put on some pounds I can't seem to shed. But
Awesome.
I've just been trying some different recipes that are in the book to see how he was going to take to them. And so far, with the exception of the couscous, everything's been good. So,
That's awesome.
But I've heard a lot of good things about the Mediterranean plant.
I have two.
Not currently.
it's very plant-based. It
Yeah.
does take a lot of time. There's a lot of preparation involved. And, you know, like I said, I'm used to cooking fresh, but I'm not used to doing all this prep work beforehand. And so it's reorganizing my schedule, really.
I would buy one of those little chopper thingies to make chopping stuff easier, you know, like kind of like the slap chop or whatever, those little things that you can, you know, makes things easier to dice faster.
Yeah, I've got one. I use it to make pico de gallo most of the time, but there's the storage, you know, they want you to chop up all the peppers and all that stuff that you're going to
Yeah.
use. And I got to revamp my storage system just a little bit. And my neighbor, she pre-cooks the beans that she's going to use and then freezes them in a plastic freezer bag, flat. And then she has them all organized in her freezer in a box so that she can just reach in and grab a bag that's ready to go.
Yeah, I've done that
So-
too. Because like I make my own beans also, and that's what I do. I can just like, it's only two of us. So like if I make, you know, a pound or 2 pounds of like pinto beans or something like that, I can refry them or whatever and put them in, you know, just section them out and just put them in the freezer. So yeah, it makes everything really convenient to have
Yeah.
stuff, you know, when you do cook, to cook a
Well,
lot and
that's-
put in the freezer.
Yeah, that's us. I don't know how to cook unless I'm cooking for an army. And so it's just the two of us. And so I have to really, you know, prepare myself to, okay, we're going to freeze half of this and eat half of it, you know, blah, blah, blah. Or a portion of it, or whatever, you know. It's just a different way of doing things.
For sure. So since we're talking about farming,
Yeah, it's kind of perfect.
yesterday we were talking on our Wednesday call about planting seeds and the recession and how to continue selling in a recession, and if people are pulling back money, and things like that. And Megan has been getting a ton of referrals recently. And as we're looking at where those referrals are coming from with her, some of them are coming over this 4-year period of her investing in her business, marketing her business, serving clients, and over time that turns into referrals. It's also coming from having, said yes to certain opportunities that may or may not have worked out. Some of them have worked out that are giving her some additional referrals. So when I grew up around farming and planting and all of those things. I don't currently have an active garden. I now live in the city, and it is really sad. So, but not everything you plant is going to actually work out. So, I kind of just wanted to take this framework, and we're in spring. A lot of us have marketed going into tax season, and either we're busy and we're not marketing, or we're still trying to look to market and grow the businesses. And as we go into summer and fall, I don't want you to wait till fall, but when September comes around to start marketing to get those tax client or people who need, cleanups to finish their tax returns, is where I'm going with this. So, long story short, so first scenario that I was thinking about was share who you serve and what problems you solve. So when we're talking to potential clients, I don't know, I have mentioned this book before. I don't know if you guys have read it, know exactly what to say. In this book, he's talking to the person who is just scared to talk about their business to people. They really struggle with the elevator pitch or any sort of elevator pitch. And he says in that book, in the very first beginning chapters of it, and it's a really short read, but in the first beginning chapters, he mentions that if you phrase your elevator pitch as this is what I do to solve people's problems, and you can say like a caveat phrase of this might not be for you, but I do XYZ, right? Which, they're not now like, don't sell to me, because you've already said, this might not be for you. And there's no pressure, right? But in talking to them, we can say, I serve XYZ people and I solve this problem. So in this, I'll list to you. So we're in a discovery call, or you're presenting at BNI. We're going to take control of the conversation and say, like, a large company hired me to help them solve their problem. The seed you're planting here is that you got paid to either show up to solve someone's problem, like a group of people's problems, or you got paid for a strategy call, or you got paid to do their bookkeeping, their cleanup, and you made them money. You found, but it's like rolling around here. Are you gonna play? Are you gonna sit? Yeah. And how did you do that? What was the problem that you solved? And I hear this all the time, especially with the coding call. What is the value I bring? And Kyle did a really good job yesterday, I think, of it kind of addressing the problem that we solve, because he pointed out, when we're reading the financials, and you can tell he's been around me too long, but when I review financials, I am saying, does the story that they tell me make sense? Right? Because the financials tell the financial story of the business, how they're doing, what they're spending money on. And if all of a sudden you see a blip, all of a sudden they're contracting, I think he used the example of a like nail salon whose goal is to put butts in seats so that they can do the nails, right? Pay through, whatever. And all of a sudden they, in the example he gave, they were paying too much in labor. Their labor rate went up. That could be because they're training a new employee, or they've got too many people scheduled for the workload they have. Right, but you can see that if you're looking over at monthly financials and reading the story that it's telling. I had a contracting client, I think he kind of referenced this client yesterday, who we could tell for months was really struggling with cash flow. Things were getting tight. We were seeing more bank charges, and we kept having this conversation of, hey, what's going on? How are things going? Are you getting invoices? Can we help with the invoicing? One day he woke up, he stopped paying, he stopped contacting me. So we disengaged, right? Like, but we could see it coming. So we also knew like, hey, there's something up here. But he also didn't want the help because he was paying, and he had a weird admin situation going on where they were half doing the books. I was reviewing the books, and it was kind of weird. So all good. So as we're talking to people, we want to plant the seeds of what we can do. They don't know what you're doing, right? They don't know, they just need a bookkeeper. And to a lot of people, a bookkeeper just does data entry. But as their outsourced bookkeeper, you have the ability to do so much more than just data entry their problems. You get to look at their financials. You get to come in as the expert saying, I see this all day long, every day. Then if your niche is chiropractors, you have the same chart of accounts. You're looking at industry, right? Even if you don't have the same niche, you can, there are industry benchmarks you can access to say, is my client hitting industry benchmarks and add value? You can work that into the way you present financials. If you have access to the bookkeeper blueprint, or if you want to know, I created a Canva template I referenced yesterday because I think it helped Kyle kind of see how this plays in, and it's a really basic Canva template, but it does help you start to see what is the story that the financials are telling. Like it makes you walk through what is the story that the financials are telling. But the more we're planting these seeds, hey, we can solve this on a discovery call or a strategy call. We can solve this by doing a cleanup. We can solve this by taking over your payroll. We can solve this by adding some KPIs, some metrics that tell you how your business is doing. And this is what that would look like. This is the result another client has gotten. And then I just made a note here that if you're not closing at least 20% of the sales calls you actually get on for, let's revisit the approach you're taking, how that's going, what you're saying, and what's going awry there. And 20% is like the industry average. So I'm saying they showed up for the sales call, you got on the call, 20%. You're going to have some people who don't show up for calls. You're going to have people who ghost you during the messaging process, all of those things. And it's partially a numbers game, but we want to make sure those people that we get in front of are either someone who can refer to us or want bookkeeping done. And that's where the 20%. So if a call doesn't yield itself to a sales call, can it yield itself to a referral partnership? Can it be a referral? All of those things. I guess any questions on the scenario one? I already put to scenario two.
Hey, Eileen.
Hey. Hi.
Sorry, I just thought
Thought I
Hi,
just popped in
Eileen.
before my next meeting. So.
There we go. The real master's here.
What am I master? Master of none? What?
Oh, I didn't know if you heard any of this. I was talking about discovery calls, sharing with the people that they're talking to, sharing who you're serving already, what problems you're already solving for them, other people like them. And then I just made a note, I guess right before you jumped on, that if you're not closing at least 20% of the sales calls you take, yeah, we want to revisit the approach. So that's where we were when you jumped in.
I agree with that.
Okay, cool. You're learning something. So scenario 2, I have here sharing what you offer. So this is a little bit different than before. When you're talking to potential clients, we want to be sharing what we offer during the conversation, similar in that they don't know what you offer. They don't know how you can solve their problem. They don't know what that tangibly looks like, because all day long, they're being told that they can get $100 a month bookkeeping. I literally just had a client on a discovery call saying, so $100 a month bookkeeping, is that a thing? Sure, it can be. Will it be right? Not likely. Like, I can't tell you that it's gonna be right. And I say that because I've seen CPAs undercharge. I've seen, even QuickBooks Live charges more than $100, and they're making you do the bookkeeping. So I charge.
Yeah, I have something to add to that a little bit to
Yeah.
make them think. Because if you're charging that little, you're working off of volume. So how much attention can they really give everybody if they're really trying to get as many clients as possible and do a volume business, which is another business model?
So Walmart is in that business model, right?
Yeah.
They're volume based.
Mhm. Exactly. I mean, there are certain products I wouldn't buy at Walmart just because I'm interested in the quality, right?
I guess.
Mhm. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's that
You get
actually
what
leads
you
into
pay
the
for.
next point. So with that, when a potential says, I never get reports and I don't know if we're profitable, that's likely because they're going to someone who's too busy. So spot on. After you hear the thought, hear what their complaint is, because you're listening for you're twofold listening. One, you're listening to know, are there any red flags that the potential contributed to them not getting reports? Right? Were they not getting information? Did they not know what to send to the bookkeeper? Or were they saying, hey, I sent everything by the 3rd, that's when they needed it, and I still never got reports? Like, I answered every question they asked. I got their portal. If they're saying they did everything right, great, but we are listening for the potential of a client to be like, I'm going to send you stuff December 31st and expect it done January 5th. We're listening to that because we want to know what type of client we're working with. But if they're saying, hey, I never get reports, this is my problem, and I want to know if we're profitable. Profit alone, you can see on the P&L, right? You might ask some more probing questions. What does it mean? Profit in what? Are you looking for a specific product or service line that's profitable, or do you just want to know the business is profitable all in all? After you've listened to everything they say, let them finish their thought. This is a good opportunity to reference back to a story where you've had a similar situation and you can relate to them. This I was a little hesitant to put in here though, because I see a lot of time people over sharing stories. I can relate to you with the story. I can relate to you with the story about myself. We're not relating a story to ourselves for them. We just want to give them enough to say, I have done this before and can solve your problem. So we don't want to spend 10 minutes on the story. We just want to quickly say, this is how I can solve your problem because I've done it before. Right? Because who wants to get in a conversation? And I am actually guilty of this. This is what I said. Hey, Megan, I relate to you. You just got in a car accident. Do you remember that one time I totaled my car? It's not on point. It's about me, myself, and I. It's not kind. I'm not actually relating. I want her to know, like, yeah, theoretically, I'm saying that because I want her to know I have been there too. But it's completely out of place and it's inappropriate. Right? We don't want to do that with the stories. So just caveat. We want it to be on point, on target, and it must lead back to them. As we were talking about yesterday, today, just high level. So between planting those seeds today, building those referral partners, having those successful discovery calls, because discovery calls, when you follow up, you're sending your email list, you've got this sales process in place. 6 months later, Chelsea just had someone I saw on the Facebook feed today contact her in August. They just came back to her and said, like, after 3 years of in business, we really don't have processes in place, please help. Well, they contacted her in August. When she was planting seeds, she went big in marketing in September and August. She had a lot of calls then. And I think you can probably go back to like the Facebook feed and see some of that. But she was planting seeds. She sowed it. She got a response back months and months later. With that, we can also ask them for, if this, I mentioned the book, know exactly what to say. So this might not be for you, but you might know someone who it is for. You might know that this solves someone else's problem. This is really true in real estate brokerages where there's a bunch of realtors. They might already have a bookkeeper, but they're going to know a buddy who needs to become an S corp and needs a bookkeeper. Right? That's why people love real estate agents, love-hate relationship with real estate agents because they're busy and they're not going to answer your questions. So Keeper actually has transformed my relationship with my real estate agent, by the way. So tip there, but each piece of business, what I'm saying here, should be leading you to more business. We want referrals from the business owners. If you're portraying that you're too busy, they're not going to refer to you. If you're portraying that you're unorganized, they're not going to refer to you. This could also be said to each piece of content should be leading you to more business. So planting the seeds now. What are we doing now to get those clients in fall? How are we presenting ourselves now and into the summer to get those clients come fall? In September when they're desperately looking. We want them to be thinking about you for the next 6 months. Not that you have to wait till fall. Don't misunderstand me. Don't wait till fall. But know that everything you do today, it's that freight train that we've talked about before. We're getting the freight train started. So it's going down the track, preferably at full speed. Not slowly. If you're struggling to ask for referrals, I just wanted to, actually, I could probably skip this, but I was going to show you a template we have. So here I found this chart and it's talking about referrals, why referrals are really helpful because they start to know, like, and trust you, right? Hey, my family friend is using this. Hey, my business owner that's really successful is using this product. Those are going to yield higher results. So I just wanted to give you numbers behind it. In the bookkeeper blueprint, if you go to the email templates, there is a asking for a review template, and we literally give you the subject line, what to say, and how to give them a link for the review. So I just wanted to let you know that that existed and was out there. I don't know about you, but I like templates. I love templates. Makes my
Definitely.
life. So I can stop presenting. But that was just, we were talking about farming yesterday. We were talking about the recession and how to kind of recession proof our business because a lot of people are. The book that I mentioned was Know Exactly What to Say. And I forget the author's name, actually. My version was like blue and orange. It had like orange on it, or black. It was like black, like a great black cover. But Know Exactly What to Say. What's the name of that? It's a short read. And I think there's an audible version of it.
It looks like Phil Jones is the author.
That sounds good. I was gonna say it started with like, okay. So from there, is there anything we can help with, or Megan, anything I forgot on harvesting? What is the point of harvesting?
I mean, definitely, like we were talking yesterday, like it's so important. And I feel like even myself, sometimes we get so lost in like marketing and just, I'm trying to get a sale and all this, like you forget about the building relationship part of it. And like forming those relationships with people. And because like some of these referrals that I've got now has came from those relationships that I've built over time. And even not even thinking that I would ever, like that wasn't even the reason why those relationships were even being built, essentially, for that purpose, some of them. So I think it's definitely important to, like, when you're doing your marketing, to go back to that. Like it's not all about just posting or just showing up at the BNI meeting or whatever. Like have the conversations, do some extra. If you're doing social media, like comment on their posts after you've sent friend requests, like try to really get to know them and be genuine for sure.
And I think that's what's the 5-day marketing challenge that we did. The whole
Yeah.
point of, right, the volume, we said, talk to 300 people. The cool thing about that is if you're also, so if you're talking to CPAs or we mentioned that you can kind of take that in 2 different angles, right? It's either 300 tax preparers, EAs, CPAs, financial planners, people that can refer you business because they're going to know, 5 people who might need your services over time. And you can take the approach of building referrals. But you can also do so with business owners, because some business owners have more influence, if really influencer marketing, right? You can even take this to podcasts or influencers, right? You can go talk to 300 influencers and do the same thing. We're looking for their audience. Who can they refer to us? If they can't buy, can they refer to us? And so if they're seeing your weekly email go out, right now that you talk to them, they're on your list. They're seeing that they're seeing the problems you solve. You're sending the case studies. You're sending the results. You're giving QuickBooks tips. You're giving tax tips. Whatever it is that is your thing. They're going to encounter a business owner sitting in their office in tears that their business isn't. Guys, that happens with men all the time. You'll be surprised. I have talked to so many business owners. So and so is just in my office. They didn't know where else to go, right? Because business owners are people too. And running a business is hard. It can be hard. And your life depends on it. So if you're emailing them constantly, you don't know that your email didn't happen that week. Maybe it happened that morning, that they have someone in their office that needs your help. Okay. No, we're not banking on that, but it's the planting the seeds, the good seeds. Pumpkin Pat, what is it? The Pumpkin Plan by Mike McCallowitz comes to mind on this topic of harvesting, kind of to a different end, right? He plucks that if you're going to grow a giant pumpkin, you're going to actually weed out the smaller pumpkins because they're going to drain resources from that giant pumpkin. So we want to think about our business as a giant pumpkin, our clients as the giant, like what is that client that we love and how do we get more of them? That's going to lead you to who you should be talking to. Their vendors, their newsletter people. So do they have a website? Like who's in their niche? And you're probably going to start niching. because of that, because you're gonna be like, who can I duplicate? What is about this client that I like? Maybe they have vendors in common. We talked about that before, like, you know, stalking your client's vendor list because you're in their QuickBooks files, you can see their vendors. And seeing if their vendor has a podcast, does their vendor have a YouTube channel? Does their vendor have something, a newsletter that you can guest post on? And then weed out the other marketing efforts the same way that don't work for you. So we don't want to just plant seeds on, you know, rocky soil. It's not going to do you any good. But if we can plant those seeds, so just posting on your business page and you're not adding friends who are going to see it, like you're like, you don't have a process for that. I question the point of it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I just really want you to have a plan, a method to why you're posting or why you're planting seeds where you're planting. And utilizing your effort, really, I don't know. I really like to exponentially use my effort. If I can kill two birds with one stone. So, I don't know. Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, what do you think of strategic marketing scheduling? For example, you know, because not everyone likes marketing.
Like
So maybe,
post or
yeah, like for example, well, if I do marketing every day between this time and this time, I don't have to think about it. Or if I do it once a week, or just something strategic that you customize to you so that you get it done, but it's not taking over your life. What do you think about that?
I think that's efficient. But so if you post, if you post and never engage, does it have the same impact? So you post, you get it posted and you run away. Does that help the same? I'm guilty of that. I hate posting on social media, guys. Hate it. I'm the worst test case.
I feel like this goes back to your saying, or what you say all the time, action breeds action.
Yeah.
If you're scheduling the post and they're happening every day, you're not physically taking action on the marketing every day. So it might be once a month, once a week, whatever. So even if you, like, I feel like that would be okay, but you have to take the next step as well and still do something every day. Like, it can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to do this and this is all I'm going to do for the whole month and expect to grow your business, you know?
Well, Eileen, correct me. Are you saying like, I'm going to put this on my Google Calendar and I'm going to show up and make the post, check it off and move on?
Yeah, any form of marketing, really. It could be, okay, between 8 and 10 every morning, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this every Monday. I'm going to pay attention to my marketing. And then the rest of my time, I don't have to think about it. I can put my attention to other things that I like more or something like that. I thought, you know, you said Chelsea really hammered marketing in September, right?
Yeah.
That was really strategic that she's now then gets calls later on, because in September, nobody's thinking about getting ready for their tax season that they have. But she planted the seed, like you said. And then I thought that was really strategic of her.
And I think she did that because you have this September 15th and October 15th deadlines.
Yeah.
For your
Mhm.
kitchen deadlines. But if we can do that either quarterly or more consistently and have something we can benchmark against, my worry when I just hear someone say I'm posting to social media is to what end, what metrics are you, like, not to be like, hey, care about the metrics and you don't know what metrics to look at, but what are we benchmarking the results against? And are they actually getting the results? Because we get into sales calls and we're like, what's going on with the marketing? You're not getting sales calls, and all they're doing is posting social media. So when I say marketing, it's what is the global marketing strategy there? What is the end goal, right? So if you're posting to social media to get engagement from those that you just befriended, great, right? Like that would be ideal. And I'm gonna follow that checklist, and you can do that checklist. I think, Megan, we said we determined you could do it in like 15 minutes. I want to say that 5-day marketing challenge, because we were all doing it together. Absolutely schedule that, pull it up, check it off, because you're going to say happy birthday to people. You're going to add some friends. You're going to post. You're not going to make it complicated. The Bookkeeper Blueprint has 50 captions that you can copy and paste into Facebook with emojis if you want them. And it has Canva templates that you can download and use just as is to get you started for like the first, 30 to 50 days. Actually, it could take you into 90 days of content that you can just plug and go. But the goal is you're taking action behind that to add friends, and you're not just posting to show your mom and dad.
Mhm. I mean, that sounds strategic, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I agree, if you could, let's just knock it out, right? Like, let's make it super simple. Because you're gonna be more effective. I agree. I was just trying to get a couple of projects off my plate. I had a secret goal of actually taking doing YouTube for my business. And I've been trying to do this for years, guys. Like, I am the worst. And because I was primarily using Upwork. And so I committed every day. I would be holding a baby like I am now. And I would be, once their eyes were closed and asleep, I would get on Upwork and I would copy and paste. I had like a template that I would copy and paste, and I would bid on jobs. And I committed to doing that because that made sense to me. It was easy. And I started to build a metric behind it that I could track. If I do this, I get this result. But as I'm wanting to get off of Upwork, mainly because I'm just like, how long is it really going to stay around? Like, it feels like over time, those sites get inundated with people who just want to do it for bottom dollar. It doesn't necessarily attract people who want to do it for bottom dollar, because I get on calls all the time and they're like, we're not looking for the cheapest. We're looking for the person that can solve their problem. I want to continue that conversation with the person who's not necessarily looking, but I want to be the right fit, right? But as I'm wanting to transition that over, I need a system and a process in place to make that easy. Because recording a video, getting dressed, posting it needs a system to it's like I wouldn't, guys, I don't look fantastic today. Because I was trying to get some work done before this call. And I figured you guys wouldn't be too much. So but to do that, I need a plan. So what I've been doing while I know that I'm holding out on it and waiting for it, I've been growing my audience on YouTube. I've been pushing small pieces of content and pointing people to it so that it's building subscriber base content and working towards monetization. So that as soon as I've got like a target date. As soon as I get to that target date, I've got these projects off my plate, I can start focusing on it and fine tuning particular process. But it needs to be stupid simple, or I won't commit, because you know how many things can get in my way between hitting post or whatever it is that you're doing. But yeah.
That sounds very strategic and planned, but and how much time is it taking you to commit, say, daily to do that?
Oh, I don't spend more than 15 minutes a day on any marketing. I can't. Because it stresses me out. Because I'll spend time on Canva or whatever. So I don't anymore. I will add friends on Facebook. I'm not really consistent on Facebook. I am more just once a week, I am doing something on YouTube. So I'm not even daily doing it.
Okay, well, that's really good. That's doable.
Like,
That's a really doable plan.
and once a week, let's focus on that real quick before we have to jump off. Once a week marketing. I had a coach tell me at one point, they only post one time a week. And they get killer results. That's all they do. And they're $1 million revenue coach. Their minimum client is $1,500 a month. And they post once a week. And I'm like, oh. Well, they do repurpose their content a little bit. So they do stories, they do posts, but they're really good posts. They tell a story, they give a result, they provide a solution. And they go promote it, like making people like, can you go like engage it? They have their like inner circle people. They don't have an inner circle, but like they have people like this right here on this call. They would say, hey Gwen, can you please, I just made this post. Hey Michelle, I just made this post. Hey Megan, I just made this post, and promoting it so that it does still get it into the algorithm. And they rely on that long form post to carry them through the week. And because they've mastered their own metric, they can rely on posting once a week. So if you can't post a day, every day, do a quality post or a live once a week. And if you're going to commit to focusing on doing the live, schedule the replay post, schedule out the 7 magic posts from Alyssa, and then show up once a week to do the live. That's what I would do. If you have no time, I would schedule out, I would write out, pick a day, write out all 7 posts, schedule them, auto schedule them to your business page, copy and paste them every day to your Facebook page. And then I would show up for the live. That's what I would do. If I was committed for 30 days, but needed a really easy way to make it happen. Yeah. Let me know if you need accountability for that. If you're listening to this replay or you're on now and you want to do that, let us know. I'll hold you accountable. I'll even do it with you. I will do it with you. So let me know. Okay, it looks like we're coming up on time. The new website is out, it's there. Everything's all in one spot. If you haven't seen it, we worked really hard on it to get you guys in one
Can I
spot.
ask y'all? Sorry,
Yes.
Sherry.
Yeah, fine.
Can I ask a QuickBooks question real quick?
You have like 30 seconds. We have to jump off, but go for it.
Oh, that's not gonna be enough time.
Go for it.
Kyle,
Well,
is Kyle
it's on
cool?
it's invoicing. Client invoices their customer, the payment is made, it's showing deposited, but then when it comes to the bank feed, it's not matching.
So you did a bank deposit. So you have the invoice, you received the payment. Then
They've
did a-
received the payment. And when you open up the invoice, it shows the payment was made and then it was deposited on that day. But when it comes to the bank feed, it's showing it's uncategorized income and it's not matching to
Where?
the invoice.
What account did y'all mark the deposit to? Undeposited funds, the bank account, something else?
On what, Megan?
So
When
there's
you're
payment, does it say undeposited funds or the bank account?
I don't know. I'll go in and look at under the account settings.
No,
It
you're gonna
should,
open the payment. You're gonna open the payment and see where it's being deposited to.
and the
Okay.
deposit as well, because I was working with somebody this morning that for some reason everything was going to cash on hand and it wasn't matching up, and that's why, because it was all on cash on hand. So deposit and receive payment, check them.
And then with the unapplied cash or like unapplied payment, that's because the invoice might be dated after the payment was received. So it sounds like you might have received the payment first
Yeah,
then the invoice.
yeah,
You'll need to make the invoice date before that payment date.
that's a problem. No, the invoice date is dated the same day the payment was received.
Okay. Do you have the payment up?
Yeah,
So on the payment, you're gonna see the customer name at the top, and then you're gonna see like
Mhm.
date, check, how the payment method, and then it's gonna say deposited to, what does it say there?
I've got the invoice up. Let me open up the payment. It doesn't have deposited to on the received payment.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just says deposited 265 on the date, but there doesn't.
So you might wanna make that, you can do two ways. You can deposit it to your checking account and then match that to the deposit, or you
Mhm.
can bank deposit if it was deposited by itself, like you see that payment on the bank fee, you can just deposit it to the checking.
Mhm.
So when it says deposited to.
This used to, yeah, this has not been a problem up until the last couple of months, and it's. I've tried to get QuickBooks, what you call it, involved, and they're like, well, if they record a payment on the invoice, then it's not going to match. Didn't make any sense because we've been doing this for over a year.
Yeah, two things. One, in the course that you have access to, I have a video and like a step process on undeposited funds. But I would also be happy, me and Megan can get on a call with you. One of your one-to-ones, I'm not sure do you have one-to-ones for the month?
Okay,
So
all right.
we can get on.
Oh,
and
yeah, I have it.
For
Yeah.
sure.